Howdy and hello, I'm OhDough. Hope you're doing good. If you want more gameplay and less chores and V-Rising, change these settings. If you're already playing the game, go to load game, click your current preset, and edit settings. For folks that are new or making a new playthrough, go to play, private game. If you want to do PvP, just be warned, go to online play. Folks are cowards when it comes to PvP in this game. Private game, difficulties. Relax is easy, normal is baseline, brutal is the full gameplay experience. I'm not just saying that because it's more difficult. The bosses get more abilities. That's the full gameplay experience. If normal had the same thing, I'd say play whatever you want. But I recommend brutal if you're only doing one playthrough. Do brutal. If you're doing two playthroughs, first one, normal, get a baseline of how things go, and then do brutal. If you're tough on time, brutal. Speaking of time, go to advanced game settings. And here you can see what brutal settings look like. You get more loot out the gate, less durability loss, and a few other things here and there. If there's a blue arrow next to something, it means they changed it. I've seen as such right here. So not much change. Now, I'm changing a lot of stuff. We have Hunter. My family doesn't call me by my real name, which is with a T. They just say Hunter. Load. I changed some things. Damage ideal is the exact same as seen right here. Physical power, spell power, 1. There's no blue arrow. It is regular. So the damage ideal to enemies is the same as everyone else. I just spend less time getting to actually play the game, which is killing enemies. To explain that, inventory stacks multiplier. It's not a big deal, but now you have more of, let's say, wood in your inventory. Before you have 1,000 stack of wood and the next stack starts. Now it can be 2,000 wood, potentially 3k if you go 3 times, and that goes for all your loot and whatnot. Loot multiplier. You get more things from killing enemies and looting chests. It's 1.25 on brutal. Now it's 1.5 for me. I think it's nice to have a little bit more. Servant hunt multiplier is 1.0 normally. Some things don't give you enough loot. And the end game, there's a certain material you get called, I think, heavy sticky shards. And you can go on a hunt for those, and the person doesn't give you enough. So 1.5, they'll give you more. And for the other things, you could just have multiple you know what? I'll do 1.25, and I'll just make 2 castle hearts and have 2 castle thrones with servants. I'll explain it in the playthrough probably. Material yield multiplier. One of the most important things here. You get more wood and stone. Freaking huge. And other things too. Whatever you can harvest by hitting it with your weapons that aren't enemies, you'll get more from. And even from... Now, enemies is different. So this is big for saving you time on the monotonous farming, which is kind of fun. You just don't want to be doing it all the time, at least not for me. I don't want to be sitting there for hours on end, beating the brakes out of trees and beating the bricks out of freaking stone. So 3 times is my go-to. I did a full playthrough on 2.25, and I would have liked to have a little bit more. Now we have blood essence multiplier, baseline. Equipment, durability loss is 0.5 regularly for brutal, 0 for me. You won't even notice it. I didn't have to repair my gear until the very end game where I was getting kind of sauced up by Dracula, not gonna lie. And I only repaired once. But it just wasn't very fun having to sit there and be like, oh man, I'm out of gold. I didn't play my cards too well. I could have had more servants getting my gold, but it just wasn't enjoyable in that aspect. I don't like repairing my gear. I'm gonna pass on that. Health multiplier, 1. I assume it makes your health healthier, so I didn't change that. I wouldn't change that. Not too sure. Resource yield multiplier. No idea what this does. I think it applies to your equipment. I don't remember what gives you more for breaking stuff. I cranked it up to 3 times and I couldn't see a difference. I don't know what it does. If you know what it does, let me know. Physical power, spell power, didn't change that like I said earlier. Traders. I recommend increasing their stocks. They'll give you more things you can buy of. If they're selling you fish, normally you get 2 of each fish you can buy. Now you get 6 of each fish. You can just spend more if you have the coins. Keep the cost the same and make it so they refresh their supplies faster by putting this timer down to 0.25. That's that section. PvP. I'm playing solo. I don't have it enabled. You can click on have it enabled. That's fine. I wouldn't turn on castle raiding. The second you get certain things, such as soul shards, you can't use teleporters when castle raiding's on and the castle raiding hours are on. It's a hassle. So keeping that off, you can teleport freely once you get soul shards, which is end-game content, but just be aware of that. So I just keep it off because I'm playing solo anyway. Then we have territories and whatnot. I think these are mostly the same. I made it so decay rate is off and blood essence drain rate could be lowered. You won't really notice it. It's not a big deal. This just determines how quickly your castle needs more blood to be put into it so it doesn't decay or begin decaying. You won't really notice it, but you could just turn it to 0.25. It's not a big deal. Castle heart limitation. What number of castles a single player may build? I'll do 3. 3 is chill. I had 2 and didn't even use 2, but 3 is kind of nice just to have. You can make multiple bases, and a big thing you can change, I'll talk about in a moment. So I'll do 3. 3 is good enough. Castle relocation enabled. If you don't keep this checked on, you're a psychopath. It's such a massive quality of life thing. It's huge. I made it so instead of being 3, I assume it's 3 hours to make a new castle relocation. 0. Let me move when I want to move. Castle height limit, you can go to 6. I did 4. Baseline's 3. 4 is fine. And then territory tile limit, I kept those normal. Servant limit, normal as well. You could increase those, but I like the idea of having one base, having servants, and another base being your full thing. I'll explain that in a playthrough probably. We'll see. Vermin, the rest of the stuff is just base crafting nonsense that you don't need to change, but you can finesse if you want to. Vermin and Tome is just for killing things in your base to get materials. Prison cells are for prisoners for getting blood and for making new servants and whatnot and storing them. You'll want to have a bunch of prison cells. The moment you can make prison cells, make a lot, you'll thank me later. Lockbox limitation, that's just nonsense you don't need. And Stygian summoning circle, you only need 1. Throne of darkness limitation, I don't know what that even, I think it's for throne of, that's for the servants, I believe. Now crafting and building. Building cost, 1. Crafting cost, 1. I could make these easier if I wanted to by lowering them. Multiplies the amount of materials required, so lowering it's better for you if you want to have less requirement. But I'm fine with 1. It's cool. It gives you an idea of what it would cost in the real game, and you don't lose track of that. Crafting rate, 6, dude. That's a time thing. Crafting rate is how fast they craft things for you. The lower that is, the more time you're just sitting there waiting like, oh, I hope they'll finish these planks sometime soon. Pass. Make it as fast as possible. And the same thing goes for refinement rate and servant convert rate. Just making things that are timers, not take 1,000 years. Refinement cost is also baseline. And here, I do not increase these. If you want, you can start off on Dracula equipment, which folks will hear me say this stuff and say, well, might as well do that, huh? Just go and get a Dracula already. No. I want to play the game. I just don't want to do the chores, dude. That's the whole point of the video. All right? Listen up, lad. And then the game settings is still in a very important section. LAN server, I don't know what that means exactly. I don't have that checked on. Only solo play. If you don't want your friends to join you, click that. But be careful. I don't think you can change this. And also, for max and current players, this I don't believe you can change for the private server once you make it. If you rent a server, you probably could. Maybe. So I'd make this 60, because why not? Maybe 30. How many friends do you have? Because I don't have like maybe 5. Maybe. Clan size, 4 is normal. 2 is duo. Do what you want. And global chat's fine. The rest of the stuff you can change, I'm pretty sure. We have permission to loot dead players. Sure. Soul shards. If you plan on having friends join you, which you can change this whenever you want to, if you're not on the server itself, go ahead and put it on plentiful. Unique means only 1 from each boss can drop. There's 4 soul shards, so plentiful means that everyone can get 1 if they want. 4 on unique means that only 1 of each will exist. And plentiful also means if you kill a boss and yours is low durability, you'll get another one for full durability. They decay and you can't change it right now, which is kind of annoying. Mordium Rift is the in-game events that go on. Base spawn rate is 1 hour. And what you could do is change how long they last and also change how often they spawn. So Mordium Rift incursion interval, this one right here, will determine how often they spawn in the first place. Then you have the minor Mordium Rift, which is its duration right here. And these are for these regular Stygian shards, which are kind of good initially, but you don't need too many of them. Make it 25 minutes though. Nah, 20 is fine. And then you have 25. Then you have the major Mordium Rift. I believe you'll need way more of these for sure. So I made this last a lot longer because normally these are the same length. I think it's around 20 or 25 minutes. So minor Mordium Rift, I made 25 minutes. And the major, I made 35 minutes. Because for this, you'll need a ton of shards. The longer it lasts, the more you can farm during it, and you're chilling. If you want to farm it more often, just go and change your setting whenever you want to be a shorter time frame. The shortest it can be is 30 minutes. Bloodbound equipment. Keep that checked on. It means if you die, you'll keep your weapons and your armor, and a few other things. But you'll lose everything else. If you uncheck this, you'll lose everything. When you die, you'll respawn with nothing. Teleport bound items. Normally this is checked on, meaning you can't teleport things such as ore and things that are deemed as precious and that have a restriction on that. All this means when you're playing by yourself in solo, you're wasting time going back to your base. In a PvP server, you want this checked on so folks can't just TP for free. And you're going back to your base and you'll be having to encounter other players most likely. I'm playing by myself. There's no enemies. I'm on a horse. They're not going to hit me. So I played for 70-something hours with this on, and probably in total 200 hours with it on. It's just boring. If you're not doing PvP, you don't have it checked on, it won't make you any less of a player, I promise. Bat-bound items. This is usually checked off, which is fine. PvP, maybe it's a bit different. But for some reason, if you have soul shards, which are the amulets in-game, you can't go into bat form still, and there's no setting to turn it off. I turned off PvP, hoping that would make it possible to go in bat form while wearing a soul shard. You still can't. Bit of a bummer. But I still keep this checked off because some things, it probably would let you go into bat form, just like you can't TP with certain things, so that'd be whack. And the last thing on the list is time settings. I don't quite understand this. Day length is day and night cycle, and daytime length, I assume if you make that lower, your days are shorter. And night will be longer in the grand scheme of the total day length. So if you want to not be rolled by the sun as often, you can increase your day length and decrease, you can increase your day length and decrease your daytime length. I think. Yeah. I keep that base. I don't mind it. And that is my game settings. That's how you can have more fun playing the game if you want. You can change settings even more. I recommend not changing your damage dealt to enemies unless you want to lower it, because you don't want to make that easier per se. Unless you do. Maybe you haven't played the game on normal and you're playing brutal for the first time, so maybe you increase your damage dealt by a little bit to make up for how much damage they deal to you, and also your HP and health and whatnot. So you could change those settings over here. Where that though? Under this item right here. Your health multiplier. Go to like 1.25, because the settings they give you, they'll make it so regular units do 40% more damage and bosses do 70% more damage, or 25% more damage to you. So give yourself 25% more health maybe, and you're chilling in that regard. And that's one thing you can do if you're not too confident in this game quite yet. And that's all I gotta say. That's what I recommend. If you're playing a survival game like this, I do suggest changing your settings to accommodate your time. I didn't want to spend 1,000 years chopping down trees, so I changed my settings. I played the game initially for 160-something hours and didn't change a single setting. And I also PvP'd, and folks are weird. They run from PvP, and they only fight you if you're 1 HP from PvE mobs, and they're so lame. The PvP in this game makes me so sad because it'd be so much fun, but folks are weird. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Peace.